All right. What a day. The information just flowing out of the 49ers facility today to the point where I didn't want to just hit you with constant updates all day, just because I think that it was really important to take the big picture, process it, and then have a nice show that goes through everything that happened. But the 49ers had their bonus practice of Labor Day weekend. I guess it's the day after Labor Day now because they don't play until Monday night against the Jets. This bonus practice, typically an uneventful day around the team facility, it was anything but that for the 49ers this time around, because it was the first practice and the first media availability after Ricky Pearsall got shot. So we heard John Lynch speak on record about that. We heard 49ers players speak on record about that. And I mean, that's a huge deal in and of itself. It's the biggest deal that there is as far as the 49ers news cycle goes. And thankfully, Ricky Pearsall's okay. He's back at the team facility. He was in the weight room yesterday, 48 hours after getting shot in the chest. Ricky Pearsall is back at the weight room. Everybody with knowledge of this situation is saying that it is nothing short of a miracle that the bullet did not hit anything of significance. It went through and through. So Pearsall back at the facility, that's great. But you know who else is back? Trent Williams and, afterthought at this point, because it was already agreed to last week, Brandon Aiyuk. But the long contractual sagas of Aiyuk and Williams, which had dominated the 49ers news cycle before the Ricky Pearsall incident on Saturday, those are both wrapped up. In fact, I've got a picture of Trent Williams here. This was the article that ran this morning. I got another one coming up right now. Trent Williams ends his holdout, finalizes a new deal with the 49ers. Now, you guys know me. I like to go big picture. I like to put context on stuff. After all of these contract flurries, and we also saw renegotiations, or I should say restructures, not renegotiations, restructures for Deebo Samuel and Malik Collins today. After all this dust is settled, the 49ers have over $60 million in 2024 salary cap space left. Yes, over $60 million. This is for all the naysayers that said that the 49ers could not thread a needle and could not execute another win-win or multiple win-wins in their contract negotiations, even though they've been doing that now for several years. And yes, the 49ers executed a win-win with Trent Williams. We have some of his deal numbers ready, and as I go through the deal numbers for Trent Williams, I'll be able to explain how the 49ers have actually opened up salary cap space in this 2024 season while paying a lot of players. It's not just Williams. It's Brandon Aiyuk. It's Christian McCaffrey. Remember, he renegotiated his deal and got more money earlier this season. Jawan Jennings got a new contract for the 49ers. And then simple restructures like the one today for Deebo Samuel, that opened up about $16 million of cap space. Malik Collins, I think his opened up over $5 million of cap space. Well, it's all added up to over $60 million in 2024 space. And this is setting the 49ers up to pay Brock Purdy. They're using a very, very noticeable and specific strategy that they actually used last year. The 49ers, despite having more highly paid stars on their roster than any other team in NFL, they entered last season. They entered week one after they signed Nick Bosa with $40 million of cap space. That was number one in NFL. This season, they have got even more highly paid stars than they did last year. And they, again, enter week one with the most cap space in the NFL. So this is financial Tetris, limbo under the salary cap, whatever you want to call it. But last year was about $40 million in space. This year, it is over $60 million in space for the 49ers. So a lot of you probably scratching your heads how they reached this win-win. I'm going to explain all of that on this show. We're going to talk a lot about Ricky Pearsall, what John Lynch had to say. We have more information on that. I do want to show you the Trent Williams numbers that I did promise to show you. This is from Williams' agency, Elite Sports. He has 3 years on this new contract. He had 3 years on the old one, but they essentially ripped up the old deal and gave him a new one with $82.66 million in value. That comes out to about $27.6 million per year, $48 million guaranteed at signing. Most of that was given to Trent Williams through the signing bonus of $25.7 million. Now, remember that Trent's deal before this, did not contain any guaranteed money. Zero guaranteed money. So he'd signed it in 2021. He played 3 years. He had proceeded past the guaranteed portions of the contract. And so all that remained was about 3 years at about, I think, 24, 25 million per year, maybe 25. But it was still short of the high water mark at the tackle position, which belongs to Tristan Wirfs and Penei Sewell of the Buccaneers and the Lions, respectively, and didn't have any guaranteed money. And Trent Williams is 36 years old. So this was going to be a tough needle to thread for the 49ers. They had to figure out a way to reward Trent Williams while also mitigating the risk that they faced by giving that kind of money to a 36-year-old tackle. They ended up forking over a deal that will lower Trent Williams' salary cap hit by my calculations by about $13 million this year. It was $31.7 million. By giving Trent Williams a contract with $48 million guaranteed at signing, which is a huge amount of money, the 49ers are able to prorate the signing bonus portion into the future up to 5 years beyond the term of this contract. It's only 3 years, but they'll add 2 void years. And they'll probably be able to reduce Trent Williams' cap hit. My prediction, we'll see if I'm right, to about $17 to $18 million this season. So from 31 down to 17 or 18, that's about $13 million saved against the salary cap. So with that being said, I've updated my salary cap sheet here, and I have the estimate in for Trent Williams. It's marked as clearly as an estimate. I've also redone the Deebo Samuel deal. He saw the renegotiation today. Deebo Samuel was a simple conversion of base salary into signing bonus, which the 49ers are entitled to do. Same thing with Malik Collins. Turn base salary into signing bonus. You're going to pay that player the money anyway. So if you're willing to pay it up front, you can stretch it out against the salary cap. If you want an illustration of how that works, just take a look at Brandon Aiyuk's contract, which I broke down the other day. It's the same mechanism that they used on Aiyuk. It's the same mechanism they've used on Christian McCaffrey. They use it on Malik Collins. They use it on Deebo Samuel's contract. And Trent Williams had a new deal now that's similar to Brandon Aiyuk's, except it's shorter, but you have the money stretched out over the prorated signing bonus and maybe even an option bonus or 2 option bonus into future years. So it's like an accordion. Stretch it out as far as possible into those 5 years. So the cap damage comes a little bit later. Anyway, let's go back to the Trent Williams money, because that's what needs to be up on the screen. The 49ers were able to stretch out the Trent Williams money by giving him the big guarantee, by believing in Trent Williams. And I think that Trent himself, I mean, the way that he lobbied for himself in this process, and we heard him talk about it today. He says that he wants to break barriers. He already has broken barriers. He's a walking first ballot Hall of Famer at 36 years old, playing at the highest level at the left tackle position. There's nobody playing better than Trent Williams right now. He wants to be that when he's 38. He wants to be that when he's 40. He wants to be that when he's 41. He wants to be that when he's 42. He said that Father Time catches us all, but we can stave off Father Time. You can give Father Time a stiff arm for a few years. And so far, Trent Williams has shown the ability to do that. I think when he signed a deal with the 49ers in 2021, people thought that by this 2024 season, he'd be going downhill, and he's not. He said that he actually got back to work sooner this offseason than he had in any previous offseason. So he never considered retirement. Now, retirement might have been used as leverage because, I mean, he was able to threaten to walk away, and that would have hurt the 49ers dearly. But Williams today said that he never considered retirement, and there you go. He is now the poster child for the latest 49ers financial maneuver. Now, the really cool thing about all of this, and you see in the headline, I say how Trent Williams and Ricky Pearsall helped the 49ers have over $60 million free. You're probably wondering why I included Pearsall in that. Well, listen to this. I wrote this out on Twitter not too long ago, and articles coming out on Athletic soon. In June, Trent Williams swung by the 49ers facility for a day. It was for mini camp. It was before the holdout officially started in training camp, but this was during mandatory veteran mini camp. Trent Williams came for a day. So that's the first time that he had overlapped with 49ers rookie receiver Ricky Pearsall in the building. Williams shared the story today that Ricky Pearsall actually went out of his way to introduce himself to Trent Williams. Williams remembered and said that seeing Pearsall get shot on Saturday compelled him to end his holdout more than anything. Quote, I instantly felt this vibe, Williams said. Pearsall is such a genuine person. I just wanted to be a voice in his ear to let him know everything will be all right. I wanted to be around for that, end quote. So this, very near tragedy that the 49ers went through on Saturday actually galvanized, by Trent Williams' own words, actually galvanized Trent Williams to end the holdout, get on with it, get this contract signed. I'm sure they were close in numbers by that time on Saturday. Well, if he needed an extra nudge to get over the finish line, it was to get back into the locker room that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have built, that Trent Williams is such an integral part of. I mean, Williams holds summits at his locker after every game. Like Nick Bosa will pull up a chair. Christian McCaffrey will swing by. Kerry Hyder used to be locker neighbors with Trent Williams. And all these guys, it'd be like a campfire. They would circle their chairs around Trent Williams' locker. They'd break things down. It's not, typical behavior from somebody who has a private jet in the NFL. Very few NFL players have had private jets in the history of the league. Trent Williams, though, has one. He's set now for $358.8 million in career earnings, which is the most ever for a non-quarterback. So anyway, this guy, obviously, he's made of money at this point. He's got the private jet. He's had that now for a while, for several years. But he's still talking about, being the kid stuck inside at recess, looking out through the window. That's how he described his holdout. I mean, he obviously wanted to get the best possible deal for himself, but he's talking about this in terms of being like an elementary school student wanting to play football. He wants to play the kids' game, right? He's talking about the locker room camaraderie. He's talking about the fact that he met Ricky Pearsall back in June, and that Pearsall introducing himself to Williams left such a mark on Trent Williams that he wanted to get back in the locker room to be there for Ricky Pearsall as he recovered from this gunshot wound. I mean, this is all really, really tight-knit locker room stuff that you don't normally hear about. You don't normally have players this good and this many highly paid players on one team. But B, you don't normally hear about a guy that's set to make nearly $360 million over his career, speaking like this in the locker room. And I think that's the angle that Trent Williams is coming from. Now, speaking of Trent, he was out on the field today. We can take a view. This is from Anthony Flores, Anthony TV Sports video credit. Look how happy Kyle Shanahan is that Trent Williams is back. Walking out of the weight room, there's Kyle saying, what's up, as Williams is putting on the 71 jersey for the first time. Kyle is definitely relieved about this whole situation. Kyle has both Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk back. We're going to get into all the Ricky Pearsall talk here in a little bit. I wanted to let the room gather. I see we've got 1,100 of you in here. Maybe that will continue to grow. But this is a little bit further back in the rearview mirror. The contract that Brandon Aiyuk eventually took from the 49ers just so happened to be the one that they had offered him on August 12th. So it was like 2.5 weeks in between offer and signing. And Brandon Aiyuk acknowledged today that he made it harder than it had to be. Listen to this. I think this is some good self-awareness from Brandon Aiyuk.
I think I'm not gonna lie, I made it a little bit more difficult than it needed to at the end. But yeah, it was like that I'm not gonna say the whole entire time, but for about the past month, I think we were pretty good.
So for about the past month, we were pretty good. You could see Aiyuk was satisfied with the terms for about the past month. He's probably referring back to that August 12th date, which just goes to show you that the last few weeks were a little bit unnecessary. I think, Aiyuk requested a trade. The 49ers called his bluff by facilitating the trade. And then Aiyuk, in a way, might have called the 49ers bluff by saying no to the trade proposals that the 49ers put on the table with the Browns and the New England Patriots. At the end of the day, we said it the whole time. Prisoner's dilemma, the way you beat it is cooperation. The optimal outcome was for both parties to stay together. They did indeed stay together at a deal that I think hit the sweet spot. I analyzed the deal over the course of the weekend. I can analyze it one more time here, or at least I can get some of this stuff up on the screen for you. When we look at the contract, it wasn't worth top tier receiver money. It was nowhere near the ballpark of somebody like Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb right behind him, but it was better than Amon-Ra St. Brown's deal. And again, this goes back to the 49ers willing to pay the guaranteed money. If you're going to fork that guaranteed money out, you're going to have more control over your salary cap situation. That's how they ballooned this salary cap total to over $60 million. They are pushing cap hits into the future, and it makes complete sense. It's like taking out a zero interest loan because the cap is going up year over year. So you convert a lot of the base salary to signing bonus, or if you're giving out a new contract, just give out big bonuses to begin with. Brandon Aiyuk is getting $47 million between now and April 1st of 2025. Trent Williams is picking up a new $25 million signing bonus, and he gets the most ever for a year one cash flow for an offensive lineman at $27 million coming in this year. 49ers are willing to pay up to seize this moment. As long as Jed York is willing to do that, 2 thumbs up. The 49ers can continue doing this, and it doesn't hurt them because unused cap space carries over from season to season. So the whole point of this offseason of trying to get Trent Williams done, trying to get Brandon Aiyuk done, trying to build the rest of the team around those A-listers and A-listers who have already been signed, the whole point was to set the table so that the 49ers can sustainably sign Brock Purdy next year. So the way that we judge this from the team's perspective is, okay, after signing Brandon Aiyuk and Trent Williams, are the 49ers in better or worse shape to sign Brock Purdy next season? Well, they just opened up over $60 million in 2024 salary cap space. Guess what the going rate for Brock Purdy is probably going to be? $60 million per year. The math adds up. That's a big oversimplification, but I know I'm talking to 1,500 people right now. And in that case, I don't want to, get too far into the weeds. I've shown you guys the contract graphics, and I want to get one of them back up on the screen right now. I think we can go back to the Brandon Aiyuk one that I made the other day, and you could see how these work. The cap hit's only $5.7 million this year. So Williams, I'm guessing, is going to go down from 31 to about 17 million. They've moved Deebo Samuel's cap hit down from 28 million to 12 million. And they push the money out with flow control, and they evenly spread it over 5 years moving forward. So that means that, in 5 years, you're going to have a massive hit, like really huge hits. In the case of Brandon Aiyuk, 4 years down the road from now is when you're going to have a big one. But you can renegotiate the deal again then. You can surf this wave as long as you're willing to convert base salary to signing bonus and take advantage of that NFL rule that allows you to prorate these cap hits. And the 49ers they're willing to spend, they're willing to do it, and they're fitting under the roof of a rising salary cap, which is tied to NFL revenue on a year after year basis. All right, let's talk about Ricky Pearsall on the unified 49ers front from practice today. Ricky Pearsall, one of the first things he told John Lynch when John Lynch drove up from the South Bay to San Francisco General Hospital, which is over there by Potrero Hill off of 101 in San Francisco. One of the things that Ricky Pearsall told Lynch, and Pearsall was lucid the whole time, even though he got shot in the chest. So this remains a miraculous event. But he told John Lynch that he hopes the 49ers continue their pre-planned players party that evening. And the 49ers would not have held that party unless Ricky Pearsall was doing okay in the hospital. And if Ricky Pearsall blessed the party to continue, like that's an obvious human interest element to this. And I think that even though we didn't have explicit confirmation of Ricky Pearsall saying that, anybody, with a functional brain could have put 2 and 2 together and said, okay, Ricky Pearsall okayed this from the hospital. John Lynch confirmed that today. And then Ricky Pearsall even was able to get on FaceTime and talk to the 49ers players at the party at Kyle Shanahan's house on Saturday. So Aaron Banks today had a really good quote. He said, Ricky Pearsall, he's in high spirits, but you can tell that something like that will shake you up. So you can tell he's still working through it, but it was great to see him. Pearsall was in the weight room 48 hours after being shot in the chest. And he was telling his story to 49ers players. As Tim Ryan put it, he earned a lot of street cred in the locker room. Obvious toughness was shown on display when he was able to walk to the stretcher there, getting into the ambulance. But the fact that he was back in the weight room within 48 hours, Aaron Banks said, yeah, he's going to have to work through some stuff, because I think anybody would be jarred at the very least, and probably even scarred by an experience like that. But I think nobody in the 49ers locker room is questioning Ricky Pearsall's toughness. John Lynch today said that Pearsall was trying to buy luggage for road trips in downtown San Francisco when the attempted robbery happened. The quote that really summarizes all this from John Lynch was, quote, "Nothing short of miraculous that he came out of this as good as he did," end quote. The bullet didn't even strike a rib, not even a rib. When somebody gets shot in the chest, you worry about the heart first, right? It's probably not going to be good news if you get hit in the heart. You then worry about the lung. Not going to be good news either if you get hit in the lung. It didn't hit the heart, didn't hit the lung, didn't even strike a rib. And John Lynch is optimistic that Ricky Pearsall will be able to play this season. In fact, Lynch even said that it was a tough decision to put Pearsall on the NFI, the non-football injury list. But the 49ers had to act quickly. That list was only going to be open to them for a short period of time after this incident. The non-football injury list, it's kind of like PUP or even IR. It dictates that a player has to be out at least 4 games, but you open up a roster spot when you put him on that list. And the 49ers said, he might be ready physically sooner than 4 weeks, which to me is absolutely remarkable. That's why that miracle quote really rings true in this situation. But they decided, he's going to need some time physically. He's probably going to need some time mentally. Let's just give him at least 4 weeks. So they put Pearsall on that NFI list. But the mere fact that it was even a little bit of a question for the 49ers, to me, is, it's mind-blowing. This is completely mind-blowing stuff that is happening right now in the aftermath. And it's mind-blowing stuff to be really, really thankful for, because, a millimeter, a centimeter, an inch, a very, very minuscule unit of measurement different. If things had gone that way, we could be having a very, very different conversation right now about Ricky Pearsall. John Lynch gave gratitude to the San Francisco Police Department, to Joelle Harrell, who was the police officer who was the first on the scene. I'm sure that you've heard her account of the situation, and she was able to get Ricky Pearsall to calm down, and she was praying in that moment. John Lynch also thanked the staff at San Francisco General Hospital for the care they give Ricky Pearsall and his family. Rick and Aaron are Ricky Pearsall's parents. They're able to fly up from Phoenix and get to San Francisco very quickly on Saturday afternoon, early Saturday evening, to be with their son through the night at the hospital. John Lynch also made the trip up to San Francisco General and the 49ers. And he was released the very next day, and he was in the weight room by Monday. So again, we are talking about a miraculous situation with Ricky Pearsall, and that was a very, very big part of what was being discussed today. I thought what might have resonated with me the most was the fact that Trent Williams himself said that the entire Ricky Pearsall situation is what might have spurred him to get back in the team facility. Like that might have pushed him more than anything else to go be back with the guys. And I think that does speak volumes to the locker room that the 49ers have built. So Williams signing for top tier money. He said he was looking for security given his age and the fact that it's a quote unquote volatile league. This is really interesting to me. I think a lot of people want to hear about this aspect of it from a negotiation standpoint. Trent Williams racked up at least $2 million in fines, $50,000 per day of practice missed, non-forgivable fines. That's dictated by the CBA. He might even be fined more, but there is some question and uncertainty about how much he'll be fined for missing the preseason games, if any, because there's a question about whether he was a free agent at the time when he signed his contract with the 49ers in 2021, or if it was a standard re-signing. It all depends on timing, on if he's signed before or after the start of the new league year. So he might be fined anywhere from $2 to $4 million for this. But at the end of the day, the year one cash flow here is over 27 million. And Trent Williams was only scheduled to make about 20 million on the old deal. So he's going to make 27, he's going to make 7 million more than he could have made on the old contract. So even if he's fined at the upper end of the spectrum, even if it's 4 million, 5 million in fines, he has already cleared that with the new deal. And Trent Williams said, quote, "It's a war. Both sides are going to lose a little blood. At the end, we signed a peace treaty." He also said we waved the white flag and we signed a peace treaty. So that's how he described it. He said that, in this situation, you're willing to give up a little in terms of the fines. He was standing on his leverage, and he obviously had a lot of it. So you're willing to lose a little to gain a lot or gain more. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. He wants to play till he's 40, but he also talked about winning Super Bowls when he's 41 and 42. Hey, that kind of talk and that kind of attitude definitely will make the 49ers feel better about guaranteeing a lot of money for Trent Williams, because if he's willing to play through maybe even get another contract with the 49ers, if he is that exceptional of a player, and so far, I mean, we're looking at one of the greatest players in NFL history in Trent Williams. Year 14 or year 15, I've lost count of how many years he's played. He's set to make 350 plus million. If he's that type of player, maybe he is here to break barriers, further barriers. He's already broken barriers at this point, but maybe he's here to break even more of them moving forward. So we've got Williams, we have Brandon Aiyuk, we got the Ricky Pearsall unified 49ers front, and guess what? We have the fact that it is week 1. 49ers are going to take a day off tomorrow. Then they practice Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Monday Night Football is coming against the New York Jets after that. How about that? Just a wild several months. You've made it through the 49ers offseason. And, the end of the offseason was even more dramatic and was heartrending, obviously, with the Ricky Pearsall incident. But then the Aiyuk and the Trent Williams contract finalizations, sandwiching that. I mean, the fact that this all came as a finale to the offseason, it's really, really hard to believe that we're dealing with so much stuff in 49ers land. But today was the first day to really sit back and start to process it all. You have a day off for the players tomorrow where the 49ers can continue to process it, but they're going to be game planning now. That I'm sure that's already started last week. I think they're probably already installing some plays. Week 1 is not going to be short on storylines either. You've got Robert Saleh and the New York Jets. That obviously comes with Aaron Rodgers to Levi Stadium. You've got Brock Purdy, who Trent Williams talked about. Trent Williams said, now that I've gotten paid, I'm ready to help Brock Purdy get paid. And the whole purpose of how the 49ers navigated this offseason financially was to set themselves up so they can pay Brock Purdy next offseason. But first things first, and you got to take this one day at a time, one game at a time. Brock Purdy has to now go out and prove it again before he's eligible for that contract extension. But he's got Trent Williams. He's got the bodyguard at left tackle, Trent Williams. It's going to be there trying to help him do just that. I'm going to open it up here for a few minutes to a 49ers Q&A. Let's get some good questions in here. Hopefully my piece comes out. Yep. Oh, no, never mind. It's not out yet. But as soon as that's out, I'm going to toss the link into the description so you can go check it out. But for now, we'll open it up for the Q&A. Does Deebo's restructure mean he could stick around? It was always possible that Deebo Samuel would stick around. In fact, I would even say, based on the shape that Deebo Samuel is in this year, I think that he's going to have a good season. And if he doesn't get hurt, and that's a lot of that's up to chance, I think it's more likely than not that the 49ers keep him around. There's so many people that put the cart in front of the horse. They're trying to put out some kind of take so they could point back to it and say, I was right, a year or two later. And by the way, those people never go back and say that they were actually wrong about it. But there's so many people trying to put the cart in front of the horse. So that they start like creating scenarios that don't exist in the 49ers building. Like they start saying, oh, Deebo Samuel's gone for sure if they sign Brandon Aiyuk. He's not gone for sure if they re-sign Brandon Aiyuk. They'll cross the decision bridge when they actually get to it. But so far, the 49ers behavior tells us one thing and one thing only. Homegrown players that they themselves drafted, they keep around without fail. If you're an A-list player and you're a homegrown talent drafted by Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch, they will keep you around. Now, once we get to a second, like or third contract, we're entering uncharted territory. I get it. And Deebo Samuel would be heading up toward a third contract. He's under contract for 2 more years. But that's another key. He's still under contract for 2 more years. It's not like he's a free agent after this season. And the 49ers have clearly been in the business of keeping good players around. So it definitely is possible that they keep Deebo Samuel around. But the main thing here is that there is no downside to restructuring these deals. You're going to have to pay the money against the cap at some point anyway. And unused cap space carries over from season to season. So it all's coming from the same pool. It just, the only thing that's changing is when you pay that bill against the cap. The 49ers would rather pay it when the cap is higher. So the cap dollars aren't quite as valuable, right? It's a supply and demand thing. If you have less cap dollars, less of a supply of cap dollars, higher demand for cap dollars. So the cap dollars are going to be in more value in that year. So the cap dollars are more valuable now with a lower cap, a lower supply. The cap dollars are not going to be as valuable in the future with a higher supply. The 49ers are simply shuffling the money like that. And if you can shuffle it, it's like a 0 interest loan. It's like you're taking out a loan against the cap. I don't think anybody would ever say no to a 0 interest loan. So that's what San Francisco is writing right now. Do these big contracts hinder the 49ers from making a move at the trade deadline? No, just the opposite. Again, the 49ers have opened salary cap space with all these big contracts. They now have more cap space here in 2024 than any team in the NFL. So it's actually allowed the 49ers, enabled them to be bigger potential players at the trade deadline than any other team in the NFL. So if they want to stock up the team with, another blue chip piece or two, because they're like, okay, this is definitely the year. Let's push all our chips to the middle of the table. I don't know if I would recommend it because you don't want to let the sink of the salary cap overflow, but they have the power to do that. They did it a couple of years ago with Christian McCaffrey, and they absorbed his number, although it was lower because Carolina had just renegotiated Christian McCaffrey's deal. But the 49ers are now more financially able to absorb a big salary cap hit than any team in the NFL. They've got over $60 million in space. I think Cleveland is number 2 at $49 million this season. Invader 49er says if a blue chip defensive end comes in a 1-year rental, it might be worth it. And I think the 49ers might think so too. I think at this point, the roster is at a position where the 49ers are comfortable entering week 1. And I could show you the roster right now. And then they can evaluate how everything is going past week 1 into month 2, month 3. I think it's after month 2 is when the trade deadline hits. And they could reinforce the roster with whatever they need to because they've got the money to do it. And, just line up for a potential Super Bowl run. The formula is the same as it was last year for the 49ers in the big picture. And I think today was the kind of day that meant that the 49ers were fully set and ready to go. So we'll see how the 49ers actually perform in the 2024 season now instead of endlessly speculating about it. Paul Price says, this guy thinks Jed owns the team. Yeah. Did you miss the memo, Paul, that Jed now has majority control over the 49ers? It was transferred to him just 2 or 3 months ago. You might have missed the memo, but yeah, Jed York is now the principal owner of the 49ers, not just the CEO. How come no other teams utilize the cap and restructuring contracts like the 49ers? Other teams do it, but nobody does it as aggressively as the 49ers. The 49ers have an ownership that's willing to pay for it. And B, I think they've got some of the best salary cap guys in the business. So it's a combination of those two. And it's a moment in time for the 49ers too. The salary cap rose 30 million this past year. Taylor Swift effect probably was responsible for a lot of that. So 49ers happened to be knocking on the door of winning a Super Bowl with a really high priced roster, a lot of talented guys at that very time. They're like, okay, let's push all our chips into the middle of the table because the strategy is dependent on the cap continuing to rise. You're surfing that rise year after year. What does Trent's exemption mean for the 53? It means that the 49ers will have to cut somebody or move somebody to IR or make a roster move when they activate Trent to the roster. And we only saw the first 5 minutes of practice today. If Trent Williams was not, I don't think that they've officially activated him yet. He can't practice yet, right? He's got to be activated. And somebody else's 53-man roster spot has to be taken. They could have maybe filed for some sort of exemption to let Trent Williams practice for a couple days before making a roster move. So that could have been what happened if he did practice, but media was only allowed to watch the first 5 minutes when Trent was sitting off on the side. He was stretching out in the video I showed you. Kyle Shanahan was there laughing. So anyway, ultimately they will have to make a roster move to fit Trent Williams on the 53-man. Is Yetur Gross-Matos back? No, he's not back on practice yet. Still dealing with the knee injury. We'll see about Thursday. What is the ballpark figure that I think Purdy makes next year? I'm not going to get into that because let's just wait till the season happens. Just wait to see how Brock Purdy plays. If he's at the very top level of football, $60 million a year seems like where it's going for him and Dak Prescott. But he's got to stay at that top level to be that number one paid quarterback. So there's a lot at stake in this 2024 season. No, it is not true that players on NFI don't get paid. The 49ers are paying Ricky Pearsall while he's out. That's false information. I don't know where you heard that. He is getting paid. You don't have to worry about that. I think that Dennis is onto something here. The 49ers pretty much told everyone they are loading up to make any move possible to be competitive and make a run. All right, guys. 49ers have over $60 million in salary cap space. It's a watershed day for the 49ers. Trent Williams is back. He has signed his deal. It's worth $27.6 million a year. He's right behind Penei Sewell and Tristan Wirfs at the top of the market. $48 million fully guaranteed. Everything that we thought would happen with Trent Williams has indeed happened, including the 49ers probably lessening his salary cap hit by about $13 million. They've also restructured Deebo Samuel. They've restructured Malik Collins. The Brandon Aiyuk deal is done. He's back at practice for the 49ers. It means over $60 million in space. They are set at the starting line, ready to go for the regular season. It is week 1. We're going to be back at Levi's on Thursday to cover the actual practice week, not just this bonus practice, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The 49ers unified on the Ricky Pearsall front. What a story from Trent Williams involving Ricky Pearsall today. It all seems to be tied together. And we also did hear from Brandon Aiyuk. He admitted that he made it harder than it had to be. Oh, and guess what? On top of all that, Christian McCaffrey returned to practice for the 49ers today. So did Aaron Banks. So did Jawan Jennings. So did Tatum Bethune. Isaac Guerrero was working off on the side. The two guys who did not practice were D. Winters and, as somebody asked me, Yetur Gross-Matos. Busy day, but I thought that I had to just come in at once and give you kind of the big picture, all-encompassing update on it, because I feel there's way too much, quick updating nowadays. And for the Ricky Pearsall situation, yeah, that needed to happen. Everybody needed to know his status, how well he was doing, or if things have gotten worse. Thankfully they didn't. Everybody needed to hear that quickly. But on a day like today, when there was so much happening, it was good to bundle it all up at the end and give you the news, how we just did. One more check to see if the article is up. And even if it's not, then I will get back to you in a few minutes, and I'll put it into the description so you can go ahead and check it out. At this moment, nope, not yet. So we'll have that in a little bit. So everybody stay tuned. Thanks for watching. This has been a big day of 49ers Intel. Talk soon.